Hello and welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod podcast. I am Jorgen Smorgasbord.
And I am Jim with a G, at least, if you made that choice.
Today we watched the interactive Black Mirror film Bandersnatch.
Yeah, our banders have been snatched.
And Jim, do we recommend doing this one?
Yeah,
well,
I think so.
It's an experience.
It was enjoyable. Like, it's, I'm gonna wait with, like, giving my more in-depth look at it, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's very much in my vibe.
Editing Jorgen here. Content warnings this time around are schizophrenia, murder, suicide, and spoilers for Spec Ops: The Line.
Alright, well, what is Bandersnatch about anyway?
It's about free will or something.
Something like that. The rough plot of Bandersnatch, because it is, and please tune out if you want to have the full experience, it is, as it turns out, a work about, free will, and a work about not having free will, and a work about being on rails. So it does just kind of have one main through-line story, as it turns out.
Yeah, though there are other paths, but they are eliminated fairly quickly,
Yes.
and I think for good reason. I can only imagine that, I remember watching some, like, Choose Your Own Story movies as a kid, but those were very low budget. I imagine this would probably be horrific if you had actually true, like, choice.
Yeah, no, like, the number of minutes filmed for this, experience, according to Wikipedia, is 300 and a bit, which is 5 hours of film footage, and well, you can probably, like, do that reasonably efficiently because you're on location and you just do all the things you need to do in that location. It's still a project.
It's still a project, and I think we should lay our cards on the table here before we get into it, because I'm sure there are some Bandersnatch purists out there. We have not 100% completed Bandersnatch, but we probably hit all of the main big points, as far as I can tell, at the very least.
Yeah, no, we were real worried about, like, how to logistically do this episode, because we're like, oh no, multiple choice. Well, it turns out that that's not an issue, actually.
That's not a huge issue.
Yeah. So, Bandersnatch is a story about what it takes to make a good video game.
Yes, and we have pursued, as we always pursue, a very strong anti-gamer stance, as you can tell by our Striking Vipers episode.
Yeah, we have taken two fundamental principles to guide us in our playthrough, I suppose, of which the first one is mental health is good.
Yeah.
And the second one is fuck gamers, video games, and all of that.
Yeah.
Now, the rough plot of Bandersnatch is this. There is a young man whose name I'm stalling to look up.
Stefan Butler.
Stefan Butler. And it's Stefan, not Steven.
Yeah.
And
I almost thought that would come up again, but it actually comes up exactly once.
yeah, and then everyone says it normal.
It's impressive, for England in particular.
Yeah, no, like, he's a little French, and yet they treat him equally. I didn't realize we were that far in 1984 as a civilization.
It's very progressive.
But yeah, no, he's making a video game called Bandersnatch based on a book called Bandersnatch, made by a man who went mad. And
killed his wife. And dawed, like, all of the walls in, like, a occult cliff and stuff. But that's not important for a bit.
Yeah. No, what's important is that he is handing this video game into a major studio, and they're like, sick. Make it by Christmas, baby.
Make it by, like, September, even, I think.
Yeah, no.
This is July. And, if you ever think, like, man, games these days are so slow, you now have video evidence of, no, it's actually pretty easy. It goes real fast.
Yeah, no, just reduce the graphics demands a bit, and you can have it out by Christmas. Anyway, he develops this video game, but, we sort of get some hints that he's not quite well, because
he has a therapist, and in 1984, that's messed up. That is terrifying.
Yeah, no, they don't give you a therapist in 1984 unless you're real cooked in the head. in this case, it's because his mother died in a train crash, and also it gave him schizophrenia.
Yeah, it's never outright stated, but it does seem to be pretty heavily hinted that it's schizophrenia.
Because
And
he,
it's,
he
very...
has trouble being in touch with reality.
He's trouble being in touch with reality, and, well, there's more stuff to come, but it's all very respectfully done, I say. Sadly.
Sure. But yeah, no. There's like a bunch of. I think that we hit the first way you can lose the game. When we're like, no, take your pills, buddy. Be healthy.
There's one more before that, which is when we can get him to spill tea on his computer to save him from gaming. I think that one is before.
I don't know. It doesn't super matter. But if you know, we. Oh no! See, these are different because one of them is just like, nah, you just loop back, and this is, So actually, how deep do we want to go in the summary?
I don't think. Yeah, I guess we should stay on course for the first little bit. But let's put it like this: there are multiple what we consider good endings that are either about taking care of your mental health or being anti-gaming that just end and you look back. But...
Yeah, and there's specifically two kinds because some of them include credits and others are just like, hey, this choice is boring, go back and do something else.
Yeah, but the gist is still that like he takes this work home, he needs to have it done by September, and he does not handle the stress of doing all of this.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
He's getting obsessive. He's like starting to do the thing where you put notes on your wall, which is always like, that's kind of this. I think putting paper on your walls in media is the same as like coughing once. Like you're fucked. Like there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, no, and we encounter the first time split where you have to go down both paths, I believe. Because you see Colin, who also works at the video game company, and it's extremely cool because he does drugs.
It's true.
Fixes our man up with the medicine for video games, which is taking LSD and watching someone die in front of you.
Yeah.
And this sort of puts our friend into a time unstable position. Because both that path happens and also him going to the therapist about it happens. And they happen functionally they always happen in the order, where the guy dies in front of him from too much LSD and jumping off a balcony because of it. Anyway, at this point, our friend is thoroughly unsettled. And I don't think it's ever actually explicitly said that Colin's still alive somewhere.
No, he has been snatched out of the timeline at this point because he died in another one. Which is interestingly the exact opposite of what he says is going to happen, because he's like, no, it's fine if I kill myself. There are others of me out there.
Yeah, he hasn't realized he's not the protagonist. It's
he really messed up.
Yeah, no, he should have figured out that the young plucky nerd is the protagonist and not the old wizened nerd. Anyway, and yeah, no, he like starts going mad, and there's a really stupid ending that we're just gonna breeze past, and he starts fantasizing about saving his mother by traveling through time, and he starts thinking about basically he starts having paranoid delusions, which the LSD probably didn't help with.
No, and also him throwing away his meds.
Yeah, no, those are... It's
bad combo, don't do that.
Yeah, no, don't... at least take your meds with the LSD to keep you focused.
I don't think we should give this advice. I think we can say what you shouldn't do. I don't think we should. I feel like we have opened ourselves up to being sued, but...
Yeah,
I guess we're just...
Don't sue us. That's the official advice of the podcast.
This is not financial advice or medical advice.
Yeah, no. Don't mix medicine and finance. That's the advice of this. Anyway, his going mad precipitates the game being good. And he starts to realize that he's in a game also, because like this is sort of a choose at your own adventure, so it is at once a game and a movie story.
Yeah, and we get continuous hints that like he's kind of like implying that like, oh, it's like I don't have control over my choices, and it's laid on pretty thick from the start, I would say. But there's a point where he finally breaks and kind of like He doesn't look into the camera actually, but he looks up away from the camera.
Yeah,
He's
no,
like,
he does talk to you, the watcher, directly.
yeah.
And yeah, no, you can, there's a few other dead ends, but if you go down the longest path, eventually, he kills his dad and makes the game very good.
Yeah.
And if you veer off the path at some of the sort of previous veer off points, you don't make the game good, but you might not kill the dad.
Yeah.
And that's about it, really. I guess we didn't look into if he kills the guy's girlfriend.
That's true. We didn't do that. I suspect it's not a huge difference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But yeah, also in the what we have at least colloquially termed the true ending, there is also like a flash forward where in the future, the suicide man's daughter is like, I'm gonna bring back this game that is haunted by tragedy, and guess what? We get the implication that she's gonna get tragedy. It's like, I think that's the part that made me go like, oh, this is just like a ghost story. Like, this is just straight up a ghost story.
Yeah, no, there's some, I think it's, yeah, and that is basically the story, right? There's a few points to veer off the path, but it is pretty strongly implied that, yeah, no, the story has to lack choice, to be manageable, and that is why he is having this experience, and he is learning from the thing that is being inflicted. He is learning from being railroaded how to make the game good.
Yeah, I suppose that is a pretty like succinct summary of what is a, an experience that has a lot of back and forths.
Yeah, no, it is like at points a bit tedious.
Sure.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. To say nothing else of it, right? It's
But we are gonna say
we're gonna say so much more. But it is a genuinely like fairly unique experience. Just in terms of they don't make many of these.
Yes, I would say this. We had our very astute principles of avoiding gaming and promoting mental health.
Yeah.
And I think if you are going to go through this experience yourself, you should not do that. You should do what you think is probably like the most serious, like in tune with making a good story sort of thing,
Yeah, because it will save you time.
Like this is where like you should imagine yourself as playing like a tabletop horror role-playing game where you go, hey gang, we should split up. That's the energy you should go into this with, is so that because like by being reasonable and smart, we did make this experience take a lot longer, and I don't think we gained a huge amount from it.
Yeah. Well, we got like I think the most interesting angle is to like every now and then check out one of the side endings.
For sure.
Because like we got a few interesting ones at least.
Yeah.
Right? Every now and then there is a reward for veering off the path. For instance, like you can get one of the spookier endings if you time travel and then choose to die in the past.
Yeah.
Because then you have like a stroke or something in the present, and it's like, oh, spooky.
Yeah, like it's interesting, but it doesn't add too much to the overall story. Yeah. It's just like, here's a different fun little butterfly effect twist on things.
Yeah, and to be honest, and we are roughly done with the summary now for our dear listeners. To be honest, I think that actually does kind of weaken the story, because this is a crazy suggestion, I know, but I think what might be happening with this experience is that Charlie Brooker is trying to do a bit too many things at once.
Oh, he would never.
He would never.
It's just not within his DNA that he would try to do multiple things and not committing fully to one well-developed thing.
But yeah, like, I think the thing that is probably most, like, on the one hand, it's like, ooh, like there's this sort of secret side door, and it's kind of cool, right? And we found like the ending where he like has this mysterious horror stroke because he dies in the past. But that just straight up detracts from the coherency
from
of the
everything
story.
else.
Because the story, like, I think would be more interesting if we are just like, we're essentially just like a random neuron in this guy's brain that's fucking up.
Yes, because like I think this is where we need to go into the like more in-depth discussion, right? Because the way I interpret all of this is that we are the spirit of schizophrenia, right? Like we are the delusion in this guy's head, including at times some hallucinations. And like I think most of the what we can see in here can be read as that fully. There are a few scenes here and there that make it sound like it is. Like maybe something a bit more supernatural, but like it is fairly well contained. Except for that one ending where he just seemingly like time travels back, dies with his mom in a train crash, and just is dead in the present. That feels like one of those things where like I don't know if it's a bad thing. Like but I do agree that I think it distracts from the rest because like what we didn't mention in the synopsis is that there is this like one sort of joke ending where you say Netflix is talking to him and he goes and has like a weird action movie fight. But even that can be a psychotic break, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not. It doesn't go. It's stupid. I don't think it needs to be there.
No, not at all.
But,
Aggressively, not at all.
yeah, but at least it can be reintegrated into the story. I think the one where he just kind of like ceases to live in the present because he time traveled back and died. He doesn't get erased from the timeline, right? He's like the doctor's like he just like stopped breathing.
Yeah, he closed his eyes for a moment, and then he was dead.
Yeah, like I don't know that one is I think where it kind of goes like like it's kind of again it's spooky, but it's like one of those things where like everything else points so heavily towards like this guy is schizophrenic, he's gone off his meds, he's under a lot of stress, bad things happen.
Yeah, and like that's sort of like the odd thing that there's like the story is generally fairly consistent with the underlying facts, and we just get to like bounce against those.
Yeah.
But this one is like, well, no, the underlying facts are malleable and react to your choices, and that annoys me.
Yeah, I think also like it's an interesting thing to note that like a lot of the ones that have like the early endings where they just go like, no, you made a wrong choice, go back, are mentally healthy choices, right? It's where you, as the spirit of schizophrenia, gets pushed out of the story because he hopefully at least becomes healthy again. His dad supports him, he starts taking his meds. Whatever.
Actually, I want to drill down on that for a bit. Because, like, the one of those that's, like, actually functional, or that's, like, that gives you credits, is the one where you're like, no, take your meds, buddy. I think...
I forget if it's credits, but we do get the one where he's
we get a review of the game. We get to the game being released.
And he
right?
says the game is bad, but like it does seem like he is at least in a better state, even if it's not like a happy ending.
Yeah, no, that one's actually also weird because he was like, oh man, I wish I could do this over again, and then you do get sent back.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's credits actually. But before or around the same time, you can just be like, hey, you can destroy the computer. And that one just, like, loops you back, like, very quickly. And it's like, oh, we're on railroads? And that one's very weird because I thought he was the one that was supposed to be lacking free will. So I don't know if that's, like, thematic confusion or if that's, like, supposed to amplify the theme somewhat.
So I suppose we have to inevitably drill into the free will thing. Because the game, or like the experience itself, multiple times explicitly says there is no such thing as free will. Or like, well, at least in the story, there's no such thing as free will.
Yeah.
Right? And I disagree with that. I don't know if Charlie Brooker wants us to disagree with that. But I think there are, like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna drop the nuclear bomb. So, Spec Ops The Line. Spec Ops The Line always made the point that there is always the choice of stopping playing, right, if you want to stop committing atrocities. Spoilers for Spec Ops The Line, by the way. We're probably going to put that in the description. And And I think that is sort of like the thing here, right? We have endings where he's fine, where he like confides in his dad, he starts taking his meds again, he like quits the job that is clearly stressing him the hell out. It seems like in tune to say that yeah, that is an ending. You have free-willed your way into a more mentally healthy path. So, I think that is a bit of perhaps a delusion, you might say, if I'm going to be very smug about it. I think that, like, I suspect at least that the intention here is to say that all of that talk about not having free will is a way to delude yourself into saying, well, there's no other choice but to get here.
Yeah, because, like, you really have a lot of, like, branching points. Well, I guess there is, like, an interesting one where if you choose the wrong password, you don't get to choose not to kill the dad.
True, yeah. Because there's one where he has I would say a much more typical psychotic break in one sense, and then, like, paranoid schizophrenia is a very, very common form of paranoia. We should talk about the fact that, as with pretty much all mental illnesses, schizophrenia does not make you inherently violent. Schizophrenia makes you much more likely to be the victim of violent crimes than you committing them yourselves. This is a pretty classic media depiction of schizophrenia as inherently violent. I think there is some genuine criticism to be had there for that. But, you know, because they never say schizophrenia, I think they completely get off that. It is kind of my view on it. Also, this was made in, like, 2017, 2018, which
it's probably also partially the fault of the guy who's like, yo, have some LSD, brother.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it makes it worse. But I do, like, I don't know. As someone who does study psychology, it is something that, like...
Yeah, no,
I feel the need.
It's bad, baby.
Yeah, it's something I feel the need to point out. It is a malicious pattern in media, and... I don't know, like, it almost worries me that it so goes without saying that they're like, yeah, he has delusions, of course he would kill his dad, without, like...
Yeah.
And, like, the choice here is the choice that leads him... Because we either get the choice to kill dad or back off. Back off leads to one of our patented good endings.
Yeah.
But we have an earlier choice that makes our main character, Stefan Butler, a lot more convinced that, like, the dad is, like, manipulating and recording him, and that is what leads to us not having a choice not to kill the dad.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's particularly meaningful, but it is just like, oh, like, that is just like, whoops, super psychotic break.
Yeah, pretty
taking
much.
away agency.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, it's, I don't know, like, how deep that is.
I don't think it's super deep. To me, it just manifests as, like, a more obvious schizophrenia, like, typical schizophrenia break of the, like, paranoid valence, rather than the more, like, sort of vague possession, because that's also, like, I feel like him believing that, like, his dad is recording him and everything is a bit more, like, I feel like there's a bit more distance from us as the audience / player of this game, compared to the one where, yeah, we kind of are possessing him a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, in universe, I suspect, as the spirit of schizophrenia.
But yeah, no, like, it's interesting because, like, on the one hand, we do sort of have our patented good endings that are like, hey, you can just stop, baby.
Yeah.
And, like, we got to credits before anything particularly bad ever happened, and we were like, well, we do have to do a podcast about this.
Yeah.
Because I personally would have, like, Googled the thing, maybe, but, you know, I like going, like, if you're giving me credits, I am done. I like, going, like, no, I will not be baited into, like, spiral diving into your game. But you gave me credits.
I think that's a beautiful, like, balance of us as opposed to this podcast, because I absolutely would do that, and then I would be like, oh, there was barely any difference. No, I'm disappointed. Is it going to inform my future choices? No, I'm obviously going to do this again.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, so on the one hand, you do have just, like, the, hey, you can stop. You can stop at any time, like, being part of this interactive experience, which is getting progressively more bad for a fictional protagonist. But crucially, that is the only avenue where there lies more story.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, the sort of railroading is, like, it is still happening to a degree on the part of the story.
Getting more story always requires us to make bad choices. Like, it's the older gamer nerd, like, committing suicide requires us to make bad choices. Then killing of the dad requires us to make more choices, and then, like,
And
then it's more like a cleanup after that.
And all of those have, like, content behind them.
Exactly. So it is interesting from that perspective. We can get pretty close to what we term the true ending without killing the dad, but the resolution there is borderline non-existent. Like, I think they kind of just hug and then cut the credits, right?
There's probably, like, other games unfinished because
he's healthy now.
Well, he's less than fully unhealthy, yeah.
Yeah.
And no, like, the game is also, like, fairly like, the game has this very crucial branching point where it sort of forces you to commit to being an evil influence, right? Because our protagonist, he's going, like, give me a sign, and you have the choice between, like, Netflix and
like the weird glyph.
Yeah, the evil
offer.
glyph, that the madness glyph, and
and there's the third choice. If we sort of time travel back and get this, like, the more paranoid delusions,
we basically at that point we do actually lock ourselves into
fully,
into only having bad choices. But with the more traditional route, we are essentially in the position where no, we have to decide to push this he's very young.
He's 19. He's 19.
To push our boy towards madness, right? I'm gonna call it a game, I guess. The game is very clearly like, hey, you gotta do some evil, buddy. You gotta put the madness rune on this baby boy.
Yeah, because the Netflix ending, as discussed, is just like a joke ending. I don't think it means much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, but...
Like, to the point that I don't feel like I want to discuss it, personally.
Yeah,
I think it's sufficiently meaningless.
But it is meaningful in the sense that it gives you anything other than evil.
I suppose.
And you can be like, oh, fuck, I guess I have to choose evil now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't know, like, it's interesting to me, because this is where I'm starting to reflect, like, on this experience as a whole. I don't think it says that much, to be honest. Like, apart from this sort of, like, this respectful representation of schizophrenia and stuff like that, I don't think it has much to say about free will. I think there are actual games that have done that sort of style much, much better, whether you like them or not.
I mean, play the Stanley Parable.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that one is a genuine, like, fun one as well.
And it has actual branching.
Yes, like, it is much deeper in that sense, I suppose. But, like, even without being... I like to think of myself as the more pretentious one of us two. But I think we could debate about that for a while. I think this one doesn't say that much. It's an enjoyable experience. And I think viewing this as a straight-up horror flick is more effective.
Yeah.
And I think it does that pretty okay. I think I used this rating too much, but like a solid 6.5 out of 10.
I thought we were anti-gamer.
Maybe, but
God.
Well, like, I don't know, like, it's fun. It has some moments of, like, sort of like unsettlingness, I suppose, but
yeah,
it's not super scary, obviously. But it's an enjoyable story.
Yeah, and like it looks into the camera a bit more than like probably most horror and stuff.
Yeah, I also want to say, like, on some level, look, Black Mirror is never subtle, I would say. This one is quite bold, even for Black Mirror, with how much it is, like, in your face about that.
No, and I do think that, like, works to its benefit, because, like, it is very much a story about inveigling you into, like, being a part of the bad thing to get more content.
Yeah, like it works. Like genuinely it works, and I think they made a good choice, and I think they made a choice that could have gone wrong. Genuinely. Like I think you could have pulled it off way worse.
I mean, I do wonder, like, what the sort of place of this thing is.
In what sense?
I what I'm trying to get at is, like, I do wonder if this was actually, like, value for budget.
Oh, that's a good question.
But I guess that's quite impossible to tell in, like, the Netflix context.
I think we leave that to the economics podcasts. We're here to overanalyze sci-fi.
Yeah, but yeah, no, like, I do think, I think it makes, and I guess we can get into if we think this is intentional, but it does just, like, end up making this, I think, fairly, gripping, or at least fairly substantive meta point about, like, hey, you're watching this, you're part of this experience going forward, and, like, I don't think it is, like, it's not, like, particularly judgmental.
I don't think so either. I honestly think, like, the thing that strikes me when you say it like that is that, like, I think this makes a better point than Black Museum about what Black Museum wanted to make a point about. Not the racism, to be clear. I'm talking about, like, this one does not talk about racism.
No.
It's 1984. Racism has been defeated.
Yes.
The civil rights movement does that. Anyway, okay. I think it makes a better point about, like, viewer participation, right? In the sense of, like,
Because it's forcing the viewer to participate.
yeah, it's forcing the viewer. Well, it's not, right? Like, it's offering out where everyone is happy.
Yeah, and it's intriguing like that.
Yeah, and if we enjoy Black Mirror, then we create more sad media.
Yeah.
Like this. Like, this is a very condensed view of that. And, like, it does make that point a lot better than Black Museum, which is more like shoving gross stuff in your face and going, I bet you like that, you little filthy bastard.
Yeah, no, and it's like, I think we are sort of supposed to look at, I'm tempted to call him Will, even though I don't think that's the character's name.
No. Are you thinking about Colin?
No, our main guy.
Stefan.
Yeah, Stefan, our protagonist. Like, we're not supposed to agree with him, right? When he's like, oh man, free will's an illusion, bro. You need to realize free will's an illusion to make the good video game.
Yeah.
Right, he loses at life.
I think there's an interesting sub-point here, if you'll allow me to diverge a little bit. Perhaps take a different branch on the... No, I'm not going to finish this. The whole mad artist thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like, because there's an ending where there's a game reviewer that goes, this was 5 out of 5. It was great. Sucks that the author killed his dad while he was making it, though. And I'm just like, I don't know. That's one of those things that I find very interesting, and I don't know if I can critique this episode without going into, like, a whole discussion about the history of, like, romanticization of mental illness and how that affects, like, authorship, like, viewing, like, oh, look at these depressed authors, they must make such meaningful work.
Yeah, or like starving artists is like a close cousin to this.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go into it entirely, but I think it's interesting that they bring it up, because they are very explicit about this, right? There are multiple bad endings that good endings that create bad art.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, yeah, no, you take your meds, the game immediately falls off.
Yeah, like, it's immediate, too, right? It's really, like, there's a quote from, I think, our first good ending that has the game reviewer, and it's like they stopped trying halfway through. And yeah, it's strange like that. Like, I think the one where they go like, oh, 5 out of 5 is the one where he kills his dad and gets away with it temporarily.
Yeah. Gosh.
I don't know what to say about that. Like, I don't know, because it doesn't feel like this is the kind of madness Charlie Brooker is usually interested in.
I think this is far, far simpler. This is just like this is just monkey's paw stuff. Like, he embraces the madness and makes a good game, and the game's cursed. Like that.
Okay, you're just saying this goes back to horror flick.
Yeah. This is like genre horror stuff, I think.
Because I was reflecting on it a little bit as, like, you know, there's the whole, like, oh, like, the more content you make, in the sense, like, the more misery, but also the more art. But I think you may have a point. It does, like, again, if we go back to the whole thing about, like, in the true ending, old nerd's daughter becomes a programmer and wants to remake this game, and I guess canonically makes this movie game that we've watched. She
except it's cursed.
Yeah, she's scared. Like, it is interesting, right? Like, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I said in passing, outside of podcast land, I wish Charlie Brooker would write a young adult novel. Nowadays, I think I want Charlie Brooker to just write a horror story.
Well,
I think he might be good at it. Well, I'm not metalhead.
yeah.
He like, we have to ban him from sci-fi. like.
Well, you say that, but do you remember Maisie Day?
Okay, but I think we.
Actually,
There's got to be a set of no. Wait. Okay.
Yeah, having an editor.
No. Yes, that's true. But let's analyze this for a moment. Macy Day, set in like the 2000s, right? Bad. But you know what's good? Demon 79. Set in the 70s?
Yeah, we need Charlie Brooker to make a Neolithic story.
Okay, I was going to say before the 90s, but yeah, sure, a Neolithic.
Yeah, no, the further back in history we go, the better. Like, no, we need Charlie Brooker to make Gilgamesh. It'll be beautiful to bring the world to tears.
I will say, like, people have already made the jokes about how Charlie Brooker existed in a Neolithic. He would write stories about how fire is bad, but, like...
I mean, I would genuinely, like, just love, like, some sort of, like, either a story, either forcing Charlie Brooker to write about the printing press, or to make a story that basically inserts Charlie Brooker as a contemporaneous writer as the printing press is coming out.
I want Charlie Brooker to tackle the stirrups theory of the rise of feudalism in Europe. I don't know. Do you think we've come around in the long run here on Charlie Brooker as an enjoyable figure rather than a person to critique?
Well, I think this is. I'm torn a bit because what I'm thinking about right now is Charlie Brooker as someone who does genre stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like we've really, really seen sort of both sides of that. Because it can go very badly and it can be very fun. And this one, like, works out rather well because...
Yeah, it's on the good side, for sure.
And, yeah, no, I think that's sort of, like, where I mentally locate this episode. Just, like, Charlie Brooker getting on his genre bullshit again. And he kind of, like, pulls through with it.
I think it's interesting because I feel like while watching this that I don't think the movie feels that attached to making a point, you know?
No.
Like, I think that's the most fascinating part about this. This feels like Rachel, Jack, and Ashley too, in that sense.
Yeah.
That it's just having fun, but it's much more committed to not making a point, almost. Like, it kind of treats its own... Because there's a scene where older nerd takes LSD, and he goes through, like, the entire plot of the movie, I guess. Like, if there was a theme... They're like, oh yeah, like, you have no free will, everything is blah 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 blah. Like, he has the full rant about that, and it's kind of like they're taking the piss out of themselves. And I kind of appreciate that in a way. I think it was a fun scene. I'm usually not one for drug trip scenes, because I think they're usually a bit lazy, but this one worked, I think, fine.
Yeah, no, and, like, we do get, like, a couple of those just, like, staring into the camera moments. And, yeah, no, like, I do think, like, this one just, like, kind of balances things quite well.
Yeah.
Like, it is an amount of meta that is internally, like, consistent.
Yes, and it works quite succinctly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that for all of Black Mirror wanting to make all of these points, Bandersnatch is... And now, perhaps it's because we watched season 4 and 5 recently, but it feels like a highlight, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean...
Relatively.
Yeah, relatively, for sure. Like, well, like, season 4 was a slog.
Yeah.
So
we're
this,
here now.
yeah, no, this is Charlie Brooker sort of finding his feet a bit with like, oh yeah, no, like I don't need to be that invested in making a point. I can just like write about things that I'm generally interested in, and like have a like very genre-y story, and it's neat. You know,
It is
like
neat.
he and returning a bit to Charlie Brooker is on Reddit, we also have now more firmly than ever established that Charlie Brooker is a capital G gamer, right? Like he is interested in video game history. He is making a like choose your own adventure video game. He's doing all these things, and you know, he. I hate to say it, but like it, I Charlie Brooker is at his best when he is working with stuff that he is like fairly close to.
I think so as well. And Jorgen, do you think we can make Charlie Brooker play Dark Souls?
I think he's played it.
No, I don't think. I think he would have. I think we would have seen the Dark Souls influence. I think he would have made an episode about Dark Souls. I think he would have written a short story about Dark Souls if he'd played it.
I know. I think he's played Dark Souls.
I guess we just have to agree to disagree.
Maybe he's just played Bloodborne, and he's like, "Oh, this is just like home."
I could see that. Yes, that seems very appropriate for him. But I don't know. Like I'm feeling satisfied, kinda, to be honest.
Yeah,
I wanna. Before we wrap up, I do have like some quick shots I need to fire out.
Please.
Okay. First off, we already remarked upon this while watching. I think it's really funny that Metalhead was the reference they went with for like the most successful game ever in 1984 Britain, which is Metalhead might be the worst episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that I think I prefer Macy Day over Metalhead.
Oh, for sure. Macy Day has juice.
I suppose, yeah. And it also has a weird guy, which we didn't get in Metalhead.
No.
So there's something to be said for that. Second of all, this just awoke in me when he started talking about Charlie Brooker being like like interested in video game history. I do think it's really funny that LSD, genius game designer man, the two games we see him doing is like a Wild West thing and like a guy falling down like between two skyscrapers and collecting points, and he's like, oh man, what an auteur. And I just think that's delightful.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was the 80s, baby.
Yeah, like, it's not about, like, the advancedness of the games. It's just, like, you could have shown him, like, or you could have said, like, oh, yeah, he made this, like, beautiful narrative adventure game. And no, it's, like, less than Super Mario.
Yeah, no, I don't know, I guess just, like, the thing I want to sort of, like, briefly return to is that, like, the game is quite effective, right? Because, you know, you go like, oh man, I'm gonna make good choices for my boy. You know, I'm gonna have my protagonist be healthy, and like Charlie Brooker just keeps like going like, just like keeps putting the immediate like dead end in front of you and waggle his eyebrows and go, oh, you got to do evil to have the story continue, and I think that's
fun.
It's fun, and I think it is just like something to chew on. It's like, yeah, no, like. You do like engaging in this media, don't you? Like, I think there is a fairly basic, like, storytelling lesson. Like, you don't want the boring story.
Yeah.
You want to watch something interesting.
It's, okay, so, like, I think that's an interesting point, actually, because, I mean, that's all a fiction, right?
Yeah.
Like, the one, like, when people have been asked to determine, like, what is the central point of making stories, it's conflict.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing you can't not have, supposedly. And I think it's kind of interesting, right? Because there are other... You know, there's always the thing about, like, if we take horror as a genre, right? There's always the, like, oh man, why didn't these kids go to the police station when they saw a creepy guy out in the woods? And the answer is because then we wouldn't have a story. And all of it is about, like, trying to disguise those obvious outs as much as possible.
Yeah, and here it's just like, no, you can take the out. But you want the story too.
Yeah, and I think that's quite effective. Like,
yeah.
It's countering that, well, why didn't he just take his antipsychotics with, he could do that.
Yeah, and on the one hand, a part of me is just like, well, tell me that story. Right? But on the other hand, I just quite enjoy I enjoy like the sort of like eyebrow waggling thing Charlie Brooker is doing here. He's like, no, you want the story, you gotta choose the conflict. I'm not gonna do it for you this time. And
And that's what helps make it work compared to Black Museum.
Absolutely. But at the same time, it's not quite the same like, oh, you're such an evil voyeur.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, this is the deal, baby.
Yeah.
Right, it's a slightly less ambitious point because it's mostly about it's like a metafiction thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think in being like just limited to like, hey, I have just saying something about storytelling and not just going whole hog about like social commentary about how you shouldn't be on the TV so much and how you're such a pervert for watching all of Charlie Brooker's shows, right? It works better.
For that, though.
Well, I think we're perverts for podcasting about them.
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, that's a much bigger step. But yeah, like I have to give some serious credit for making metafiction that isn't preachy.
Yeah, no, like it, and I think it is just like the genre that's really pulling it through here. Like, Charlie Brooker probably hasn't been edited in 20 years, but like by adhering to a genre, he like gets a little bit of like being his own editor because he's constraining himself.
The genre steers him right.
Yeah, this time at least.
Yeah,
and
it's a bit of a coin flip.
Like, I think his best stories can tend to be like the genre stories. Not sure if that's not super reflected, but it like this one, like, yeah, there's the genre is helping him. It's coming together, and we have a medium-sized point that is fairly well made.
I think so too. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I feel joy that because like I do want to say when I hear like Charlie Brooker made interactive movie, I did internally go a bit, oh no.
Oh yeah, actually, late reveal. Jim hadn't seen this one
That's
either.
true. I was going to mention that. Yeah, I haven't seen this before, but I have seen it now.
Yeah,
and you have seen it now.
Yeah, no, and I do think that probably was quite helpful because otherwise I would have had to make all the choices.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's
we end on a positive note, which, goddamn, we needed.
Yeah, no. After season 4, this one was direly needed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I thought about it for a second, like, if it would have been better if we did this in, like, the full chronological order, where we went season 5, then Bandersnatch, then season 4, but I think we needed a pick-me-up.
Yeah, no, it might not be the most accurate adherence to our formula, but good lord, it worked out for all our sanity.
Yeah. Do we have any final words?
I think we've had quite a few of those already.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this. Good job, Charlie Brooker. You wrote a story.
Yeah, thank you for being a lib for long enough to make this not suck.
Hey, this was 2018. It was a different era.
But yeah, no, with this, I'm not saying I'm like a lot more, well, I'm more energized to face season 3, you know? I'm not as enervated as I was after witnessing all of season 4.
I think that's a very, very... We walk into season 3 with cautious optimism.
Yeah, and let's see what awaits us in season 3's first episode.
I want to say that's Nosedive.
That sounds very correct.
I think that is one of the more notable Black Mirrors.
Oh, great.
I will refrain from explaining any further.
Yeah, it is Nosedive. Directed by Joe Wright. Written by Charlie Brooker, but with a teleplay by Mike Shore and Rashida Jones.
Okay, it seems like we have a lot to unpack right away.
Yeah,
or rather, in a week or however, whenever.
Yeah, no. Mike Schur of The Good Place.
I know Mike Schur. I'm aware.
But the listener might not.
That's true.
And
you looked at me, and you know I'm bad with names.
And is it Parks and Rec?
I think so. Yes. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That's right. That Mike Schur wrote a Black Mirror episode into like a quarter or something.
That kind of makes sense, actually, from what I remember of that episode. But don't worry about that.
I'm gonna not worry about that. Thank you for listening, and see you around the corner for
Season
Nosedive
3.
Season 3.
Yeah.
God,
Woo!
we're halfway. We're more than halfway.
We are.
Hot damn.
Huzzah. Bye.
Bye.